baby, ooh, baby, ooh, baby, ooh, baby.
Hey, baby. Hey, baby.
Ooh, baby, ooh, baby, ooh, baby, ooh, baby.
Welcome to Rabbit Blue Radio with the Skeleton Crew, exclusively at horrorvid.com. Hey, welcome to Rabbit and Blue Radio with the Skeleton Crew. This is the 12 days of Friday to the 13th. I'm your host, Alex, joined as always by Michael J. and our special guest host, Dan Chase. Alright, now it's time to get deeply into Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. This movie starts off with Jason being completely dead. Alright? You know what's weird about that, too, when I say completely dead? In Part 4, isn't it so strange that they put Jason in that ice box and you could see, you could see him breathing?
I forgot to mention, do you remember at the end of that movie, too? When he gets stabbed, the knife goes through his eyes, like...
Oh, you with the sound effect. You know what I love about the blood? It sounds like the blood's pouring into, a sink of water.
Yeah, I know, right?
They always use that sound effect to, show blood coming out of skin, but it doesn't sound like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here was my point when I was talking about how he was breathing and they put him in the icebox in the beginning of Part 4. And the only reason I'm talking about Part 4 right now is because the dead factor. Now, I remember one of my biggest questions was, would he be put in there if he was alive? Wouldn't the doctors do more to see if the guy was dead, except for the fact that he's not moving? Don't they check his pulse or heartbeat or if he's breathing? Nothing? They just said, okay, he has an axe in his head, he's probably dead. Let's just put him...
but they did. I thought they checked it in the barn.
Paramedics can't tell the difference between a dead person and a live one?
They're stupid paramedics, obviously.
Well, okay, anyway. All right, now we come to Part 5.
Yes.
To me, this movie is the most filthy, trashy movie of any Friday 13th, right?
Oh, absolutely. Well, when they have the psychopath guy there with the axe just, chopping up the poor little fat kid. I mean, when you go to places like that, there's really no coming back.
Yeah, he buried it right into his back. I love it.
Yeah, that's a great sound effect too. Where he's like, "Wah!" and then they start crying and screaming as he's getting hacked.
Yeah, that's cool. But anyway, okay, so this movie starts off with Corey Feldman looking at Jason come back to life because these two kids dig him up, and he just takes his knife and he rams it in the kid's stomach, and I forgot how he
that
killed
was
the other
another great one.
I don't know how you felt, but wasn't it a huge disappointment when you realized that he was not going to be in the rest of the movie?
Who, Feldman?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I love Feldman. It was great because you see him, and then all of a sudden he wakes up in the back of the van, and I'm like, who's this other guy? I don't care who... This isn't Tommy Jarvis.
Especially when they ended 4 like that, they set it up. It could have went a lot of different ways, and just by having him in the beginning of the movie, I thought was awesome. And then to kind of pull away and then give this other guy, I definitely felt cheated and
yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say the guy who plays him in this movie is probably my least favorite Tommy Jarvis out of all
John
three
Shepard.
of them. Yeah.
This story was more about Tommy's delusions, It was a mystery because you never saw who was doing the killing until the end. And it was like, Mike, remember we were saying how Psycho 3 was sort of like a remake of Psycho 1?
Right.
I kind of feel like this is a remake of Friday the 13th Part 1. And Roy was like Pamela. He saw his kid get killed and he snapped. He thought that everybody, didn't protect his kid, just like Pamela thought the counselors didn't protect Jason. And Roy used the storyline to hide his own guilt of the fact that he was Joey's father. He didn't even want to be credited for these kills because he didn't even want nobody to know that he was this kid's father, because he abandoned him, or didn't they say at the end of the movie the kid was alone for 20 years or something like that?
Yeah, pretty much. I thought that they said they put him into an orphanage or something. And you know what? That's weird because I can see what you're saying. I never looked at it like that before, but if you look at it, there are similarities. I mean, you have Pamela Voorhees was Jason's mother, and this guy's Jason's father. So in a sense, I mean, not Jason's father. What am I saying? It's
Joey's father.
That's it.
Yeah, whatever happened to Jason's father?
Well, he was supposed to be in part 6. Supposedly, he was like a caretaker, but they just scrapped it. And I'm glad. I really don't want to go down the Halloween route where we see every relative of Michael Myers.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. But don't you just find it odd throughout the whole series that he's never even referenced once? You know, even in the Freddy Krueger series, there comes a point where, you know, you got to give a backstory, and at least certain characters are mentioned.
And his father's Alice Cooper.
Hey, he did a great job. I liked him in that role. That was good.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about characters in this movie now. This movie, it's weird because it has the biggest mix of awesome and terrible characters I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yep, you got it.
All right, let's go to terrible first.
Okay.
It's always good to, you know, bash and then let people know we really do like it. Look, we like these people. Okay, so terrible characters. The redheaded girl who wouldn't have sex with the other guy I can't stand, who's like, I want to make love with you.
Yeah, what was up with that shit? I mean, honestly, did they really need that in the movie?
Yeah, he was you could tell he was a charter member of HowToPickUpChicks.com.
You know what? I almost wonder if they would have gotten down and dirty, like if they would have ended up having sex, right? How that would have sounded. Robin, coming, Robin.
And then when they're done, was I a dead fuck?
Yeah, right? I mean, come on.
I have a feeling her answer would have been different than the twins.
Morning, Ethel. My, don't you look lovely today?
Poor shit. Now, Sheriff, you better hear me and hear me good. I want this loony bin closed down. Do you hear me, fella? Now, these kids ain't nothing but trouble.
You tell 'em, Ma!
Would you shut the fuck up? The next little bastard comes near my farm, I'm gonna blow your fucking brains out. You hear me? Don't you come near me, Sheriff. I'm warning you. I got a bomb on me. I swear to you.
And then you got great characters like Ethel and her son.
Oh, God.
Dude, you know what's funny about this? I really don't like this movie because it's a little too trashy and B movie for me. And these two people are the epitome of why it's that way. But at the same time, tell me that you can't quote about 50 of her lines.
Just like they done to that piggo over there at that fucking crazy farm. Eat your fucking slop. Ain't I make the best goddamn stew in the whole wide world? Oh, shit. Who the fuck are you and what the fuck do you want?
Ma'am, I ain't eaten 2 days. I like during a meal.
Okay. Clean all the shit out of the chicken coop and dump it behind the shed. You come back here when you got all the shit out, and then I'll fill your stomach.
You know what's so funny about that? Jason filled his stomach.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, that was, of course, on purpose. That they killed him that way after she said that.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Clean the shit out of the chicken coop. I'm sorry, I could do her all day. And I mean repeat her lines.
Yeah.
Right.
Obviously. In case you thought let's see. Well, the homeless guy that we were just talking about, he was supposed to be a suspect, I think. You know, so was Vic. You know, the guy who killed Joey.
Now, what did you guys think about the fact that it wasn't Jason? Because since the first one, they really haven't done anything other than Jason. And it's not like it was a Halloween 3 situation where they veered off the storyline. It's been, you know, good continuity-wise, but this is the first one in, 2-3 movies that they decided to go with a different killer.
You know, I had heard stories from people that had seen it saying, you know, it's not really Jason in that one. And then I would watch it, and I'm like, okay, well, there's a guy in a hockey mask, so obviously it is Jason. And then I remember, like, when the movie ends and he falls onto the spikes and you just see him laying there, I'm like, okay, Jason's face isn't all messed up.
Right.
So I don't think that's Jason. And I was like, you know what? It was a cop-out.
The ending is a real downer.
It is.
It's not even a great reveal. Like,
No.
Like, who cares that he was Jason?
Right.
Right. And I mean, you know what? There's little hints along the way that it's not Jason, especially like close to the end of the movie in the third act when they're in the barn, you know, Pam and Reggie, and Tommy comes in with the pocket knife and he stabs Roy in the groin.
Right.
Okay? You hear, like, granted, like I said, you hear Jason make little grunts and groans like throughout the other movies. But at that movie, and this is where sound effects are pivotal, you actually hear him make like a more elaborated, like laboring noise of pain. Like he gets stabbed and he's like, ah, and then like you hear him go like, ah, ah.
Like that was it for me, Mike. I remember that, and that's how I knew. I said it can't be him because just his mannerisms and, like you said, the way he reacts to being stabbed. Right there, and I remember seeing this movie when I was young, and I picked up on that automatically. So absolutely, sir.
Right.
I feel the complete opposite. This guy Roy kicks and busts a door into 100 pieces when he was coming in a room. Then he survives run-ins with a freaking bulldozer, a chainsaw, a knife, 2x4s, and you know. At that point, after he was impaled on the spikes at the end, I figured he would just, like, get up and dust himself off and just keep on going. Like, how was he able to just keep going and not really, you know... You're going to tell me if you got hit with a bulldozer and you went flying 15 feet that you would just, like, kind of get up? And, dude, if I bang my shin on a stair, I'm on the floor for 2 minutes, hold my leg. I don't understand if this is supposed to be a normal guy.
Good point.
You know what I was thinking? Maybe it just all comes down to, like, adrenaline. Like, you know, crazy people tap into that pretty easily.
You know what, though, Alex? I think I do agree with you, though. Now that I'm thinking about it, with everything that happens, I think I definitely side with you on this one. But, you know, like I said, I definitely noticed a difference, like I said, when he got stabbed that one time. But you're right. You know, when people are getting hit by boulders and all this crazy other shit.
And they're busting through doors like it's nothing.
Exactly. I mean, you know, what else are you supposed to believe? So you're absolutely right now that I think about it.
Like, I felt the complete opposite. I was like, it's so weird. But you know what? I also see your side. He overreacted to the stab, and it was something, you know. What did Jason do in part 3 when he got stabbed in the leg?
He went like, ooh, and then he fell down, and he like reached and pulled it out of his knee and then threw it at Chris.
Was it that different from this?
Yes. It took... See, the thing is, though, it's like Roy, when it happened to him, his was more exaggerated, and it took him longer.
Right.
The other
can
one's
see what
like...
they were trying to do with it, like, you know, by not having him as, not having it be Jason as the killer. Like, I can see where they were trying to go different with it, and, you know, they needed a way to revive the character, but they thought they were doing it in a good way. But, you know, looking back at it in retrospect, I know a lot of people don't like it. They feel cheated. It's almost like, all right, well...
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say next. Like, how do you think people left? Like, in 1986, how do you think people felt when they left the theater?
Actually, I'm sorry, it was 85, but 6 was 86.
Yeah, whatever.
Sorry about that.
I'm just kidding.
You know how I am with stuff. I would have been extremely pissed off.
I'm just disappointed, you know, and that's how I feel people were. They just were disappointed. You know, the 4 was ended on such a high note, such a cliffhanger with Tommy and his crazy shaved head and all that. Yeah. And then to go from that high to this, it's a letdown all around.
You know, I think the main problem is that I heard a lot of people always say, like, they were mad because when you watch a Friday the 13th, I want to see Jason, I want to see the character develop, and I want to see them further the character, this and that. But, you know, arguably, none of these movies really furthered the character of Jason. Yeah. He just killed people, and then he died. I mean, he really did nothing of value otherwise.
Right.
And it was the same thing, too, a guy, you know, stalking people, killing people in a mask. I mean, it wasn't really that different if you look at it.
How do you further the character?
It's a whole different story, you know?
There were so many suspects in this movie. Did you know who the killer was? Because it could have been Vic, Roy, Tommy, the homeless guy, Ethel Jr. It could have been any of those people. Did you think that Roy was a red herring, or did you really when he looked up after his son was killed and they loaded him in the car, or whatever it was,
Yeah, I had no idea, to be honest with you. And when I saw it, I said, okay, and went back in my head. I said, all right, I guess I can buy that. And then the more I thought of it, I was like, yeah, I can buy it, but I don't like it.
You know what's weird? When I saw him laying in the spikes and the mask was off, I still didn't know who it was.
Yeah, same with me, Alex. Same with me. Yep.
Like you think, Jason got plastic surgery.
Like, I literally, if that cop didn't explain it at the end, I would not have any idea what was going on.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I had no idea. I said, what's going on? I was like, I thought he was all deformed.
Yep.
Yeah, that would have made it worse. If you didn't have any explanation, from that cop or anything, that would have just made the movie a hell of a lot worse. And I think, people would have, really been against it
Okay.
at that point.
What do you think of the development of the Tommy Jarvis character? Now, Dan, you said you didn't like it.
Well, in this movie, because it progresses after this movie,
Right.
and that's one of my favorites too. But this one, I gotta say, is definitely a. If there's peaks and valleys, this was a big valley because it just. I mean, I get it. It made sense. Mentally wise, where he would be, why he's having the hallucinations, etc. But I just didn't like the movie all around. I didn't like the guy who played him personally. He was an okay actor. I'm not saying that, but he played him just very awkward and nothing like the next installment or whatever. And Corey Feldman as a kid, I guess that has something to do with it too, is the age factor. But I just found him to be very awkward and not likable and just barely a leading character.
You're right. He wasn't likable, and he was not a leading man.
Not at all.
Not at all. Who was the lead in this movie, would you say? Was it him?
Supposedly it was. Right, exactly. It's supposed to be, but look at what Tom Matthews did with the character. I don't know if you guys are a fan of him, but I just think
totally.
he took it and spun it into something that was just epic at the end of the day. Feldman started it off, and everybody put theirs.
It's weird, man. I know people who say that he destroyed that character, and it's not even Tom Matthews' fault. It was terrible character development. Like, how do you go from a kid who opened his eyes at the end of the movie when he was hugging Trish, obviously he lost it a little bit, then you progress to what he became in part 5, then all of a sudden he's a cool high school quarterback, normal cool guy getting the chick. Like, what the hell is this? Like,
good point.
What kind of character progression is this?
Well, no,
good point, Alex. He went from awkward to James Dean overnight. You're absolutely. I never thought of that before. You're right. That's whack.
I mean, I just want to say something, though. You were talking about who's the lead of the movie.
Yeah.
And it isn't Tommy. It's definitely, and I know you guys are probably going to not agree with this at all, but it's definitely Pam.
I knew you were going to say that.
But she is.
She is.
Yeah.
I don't think she had any more screen time than anybody else.
She didn't.
I don't understand. This movie is really weird.
and it just goes back to like we were saying too. She just, if you look at the whole series, every single movie, she's probably one of the least likable main characters, lead final girl, whatever you want to call her. So it's just all around, It seems like there's just a theme throughout this whole movie. It's just,
Yeah.
Okay, now I just want to know who danced better though, the robot dancing girl or Jimbo in part 4?
I mean, is that even a?
Is it a contest?
That's one of the easiest questions I've ever had to answer. Crispin Glover all the way.
Yeah. Well, even though Violet was kind of hot.
What?
She was kind of attractive. I would have taken her to places she's never been.
This is coming from somebody who said that Tina wasn't hot?
Tina is not hot because Tina's boobs are too big.
Like, what are you smoking?
But violets are perfect.
What, are you worried about getting a spring thumb? And what is your problem?
No, it's just I don't like big sandbags to knock me in the face when we're going to town.
You don't?
No. It's not attractive.
I'm for once I'm speechless.
Michael J will shock you on every episode, people.
I would agree with your statement.
Just a little inside information. That scene where she was doing that dance, she was supposed to be doing aerobics, and Jason was gonna shove a meat cleaver into her crotch.
Wow,
but,
that would have been fun to see.
Do you think if the last 10 minutes of this film did not take place, and Jason landed on the spikes, and then the hockey mask was still on his face,
Right.
and then they came to an end, would this movie be held in higher regard? Meaning, if it was not a copycat killer and it was Jason, do you think that that overshadows what people really feel about this movie?
Oh, most definitely.
See, I disagree with that totally. I thought it was a piece of shit movie. And whether it's Jason or not, because like I said, it's a guy walking around in a fucking hockey mask. I mean, let's face it, it's practically the same thing. You know, you put in that ending, obviously it makes you think a little bit, say, oh, okay, it wasn't him, but it was the same movie. It's the same premise. Guy stalks people, kills them in crazy, crazy different ways. So to me, it was just, I totally disagree with that. So.
Okay, now it's time for some what the F moments, and this movie is chock full of them. At the end, when the cop is explaining to the lady like how Roy was the killer and everything, and all along he had these magazine clippings and all this other stuff, he shows a picture in the newspaper of a photograph of Jason. Now Jason doesn't normally stop for photo ops, and he had the mask on, and he looked like he was either in the shower or coming at somebody. I really couldn't tell. I remember it was a strange looking picture, but you got to have some serious balls to take a picture of Jason. And how would this picture exist?
Yeah, that makes no sense. At least in 4, they had like a sketch drawing,
Right.
the person at the local newspaper probably did.
Right.
You're right. What the hell? Never thought about that before.
I didn't either. You're right. That is just something that it's just crazy.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen.
Okay, my favorite character in the movie is Demon.
Yeah.
Demon.
What'd you think about his entire scene? And am I crazy?
What I thought about it was definitely memorable. Yeah, I mean, I liked it as much as I liked anything in this movie.
You don't like the movie?
Overall, no.
Right.
I can't say it's one of my favorites. It's probably my least favorite. It's tied between this and
Three.
Either 3 or Jason Goes to Hell.
A little Skeleton Crew trivia. I actually have Demon's phone number in my phone. Like right now, I could call him. I'm sorry, I just felt like dropping a name that nobody gives a shit about. Okay, moving on. Okay.
That's horrible. What if he's listening? He's gonna think you don't care.
No, dude, I have a personal relationship. Of course, I care about him.
Yes.
I could text him right now. I was such a dork. I texted him on the last Friday the 13th, and I said, "Hey, happy Friday 13th, man." And he said, "You too, bro."
Really?
Yeah, I'm such a
That's
dork.
sweet.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the awards we always give out on all these episodes. Okay, my favorite, hottest girl.
I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Robin, because I like redhead.
Fuck.
Robin.
Yeah, I like redheads.
Wait, which one?
Robin is the one that was with the stutterer.
Oh God. Okay.
And plus, her boobs are perfect.
Yeah, if you like pancakes at night.
They were perky.
Pancakes.
They were perky. The breasts might be small, but the nips were perky. I enjoy that.
Mike, that girl's tits look like birthday balloons like a month after the party.
So deflated. That's
With puke on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Horrible.
I'm not, I don't know. Me, my girl is obviously Tina. I think she's pretty perfect. I wouldn't complain about anything about her. I think she's really hot. What about you?
Honestly, I agree with that, but like I said, it kind of goes with the theme of everything else with this movie. I can only go so far. I wouldn't say she's the hottest chick I've ever seen, but if you're gonna go through the whole movie and pick a girl, just like we've been going through everything else in this movie, saying high points. Well, it can only get so good. So I'd have to say Tina too. Nothing special, but if I had a few, at a party, saw her across the room, I'd probably holler.
Right. Okay. How about best kill in the movie? If you need a reminder, you got the guy driving the moped, he gets his head chopped off. You got the kid with the road flare in his mouth. You got the coke head.
Oh, the road flare. That's mine, Alex. Totally. Absolutely.
Wait. Shh. Did you hear that?
What? That's the sound of the road flare going in his mouth. He's like,
Mike, you were insane with the sound effects on this episode, sir.
what it is, dude?
I forgot about that kill, too. I actually just watched the movie, too, a little while ago.
You know what Mike sounded like just now? You ever see Planes, Trains, and Automobiles when John Candy's clearing his sinuses?
Yeah. Well, it just sounds like that dude. I think his name was Vinny. It sounded like he had a mouthful.
Did you say? Oh my god.
Well, no, my favorite kill was Ethel, and she's like, eat my stew, and then all of a sudden, just right there. I love that. That was awesome.
Okay, yeah, that was
Well,
a great
it was
one.
a tie for that and the Stutterer. I think both of them. I was thrilled that they.
How was he killed? You know, this movie is so
He
unmemorable.
got a meat cleaver to the face, I believe, or a knife to the face. Or
How many
something.
people got a knife to the face in this movie?
Many people, because they couldn't think of anything else to do.
Tina,
which is so horrible for a Friday the 13th movie, because it's like, really? That's kind of its staple.
Yeah,
It's Friday the 13th by numbers with this movie.
How do you go from Savini to this? It's just,
Tina got her eyes cut out. The one guy had a strap across his head, and his head was popped, squeezed and popped. The girl dancing got a knife in her stomach. These were really just bad. This is just like a bad movie.
The road flare one was a little different, though, so that was
different, but those people he killed were just garbage.
Exactly.
God, I feel like this episode is such a bummer.
I cannot wait to get to part 6.
Oh, this movie is terrible. God. You know what's weird? Sometimes you give a movie a little bit of credit, and then when you get hired on a website to do a horror radio show and you have to discuss it, you really realize how bad it is.
Wow, this movie sucks.
Yeah, I agree.
And if anybody disagrees, please, tell us.
Leave a comment.
And give us your opinion on it, because, maybe we're wrong, but, I doubt it.
Yeah, I would love for people to always say what they agreed or disagreed on, and then we could even address it in the next show. I'd like to be a little interactive with this,
Yeah, everybody give you a high point of the movie, if you do have one. If there is one in there somewhere. Can we get to the ratings portion of the show?
Oh, yeah,
now?
yeah, please let's get to the ratings.
Yeah. Let's wrap this up.
Wait, listen, wait, Dan, is that the end usually? Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Let's get to that.
Dude, I give this a fucking 4.
Wow, you give it the same thing I give part 3? That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't want to kill the movie. Anything, I consider, just like testing, you know what I mean? Anything below like a 30 is an F, so at that point it doesn't really matter. The only reason I give it a little credit is because, the camera shots are halfway decent. It's got, it does have some, I guess, quote-unquote redeemable qualities, but overall, it's a shit film.
I give it a 2 for Robin.
Yeah, for each one of her tiny breasts.
Mm.
All right. Just a regular person put a hockey mask on and just killed a bunch of kids, and they called it a Friday the 13th movie. There was nothing. There was no depth to this. There was nothing. I do commend them on trying to come up with something. Jason's dead. How can we do it? That's not a bad idea to have an imposter killer, but it was just not. It wasn't done well. It looks cheap. They were raunchy. It was just such a step down. It was a total failure in every facet. This movie gets a 3.
Thank you.
Alex
dropped the mic.
How?
Well, my 4 was being very generous, too, and the only reason I give them that is, like Alex said...
Yeah, please tell me. I'd love to know.
Well, they tried, you know what I mean? I mean, whether you agree or disagree with who the killer was at the end, they tried to go a different way. Like I said, whether that idea is good or not, obviously we all agree that it wasn't. It was kind of shit, but you got to give them credit. They had to go somewhere. Personally, I think all of us could have thought of a better script than that movie, but, you got to give them credit. Like I said, they tried, and you know what? It wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen, so I gave it a 4. And like I said, 4 is being very generous. I was teetering between 3 and a 4. I gave it a 4 just because I want to.
Tune in tomorrow for Jason Lives, the 6th installment in the Friday the 13th series. So this is Alex,
Michael J.
And Chase.
And we'll see you tomorrow for the 12 days of Friday the 13th.
box is gross.
And he's like, they start crying and screaming as he's getting hacked.
Yeah, that's cool. But anyway, okay, so this movie starts off with Corey Feldman looking at Jason come back to life because these two kids dig him up, and he just takes his knife and he rams it in the kid's stomach, and I forgot how he
that
killed
was
the other
another great one.
I don't know how you felt, but wasn't it a huge disappointment when you realized that he was not going to be in the rest of the movie?
Who, Feldman?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I love Feldman. It was great because you see him, and then all of a sudden he wakes up in the back of the van, and I'm like, who's this other guy? I don't care who. This
well,
isn't
and
Tommy
especially
Jarvis.
when they ended for like that, you know, they set it up. It could have went a lot of different ways, you know, and just by having him in the beginning of the movie, I thought was awesome. And then to kind of pull away and then give this other guy, I definitely felt cheated and
yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say the guy who plays him in this movie is probably my least favorite Tommy Jarvis out of all
John
three of them.
Shepard.
Yeah.
Like, this story was more about Tommy's delusions, you know? Like, it was a mystery because you never saw who was doing the killing until the end. And it was like, Mike, remember we were saying how Psycho 3 was sort of like a remake of Psycho 1?
Right.
I kind of feel like this is a remake of Friday the 13th Part 1. And Roy was like Pamela. Like, he saw his kid get killed and he snapped. He thought that everybody, you know, didn't protect his kid, just like Pamela thought the counselors didn't protect Jason. And Roy used the storyline to hide his own guilt of the fact that he was Joey's father. Like, he didn't even want to be credited for these kills because he didn't even want nobody to know that he was this kid's father, you know, because he abandoned him, or like, didn't they say at the end of the movie, like, the kid was alone for 20 years or something like that?
Yeah, pretty much.
Ooh, baby, ooh, baby, ooh, baby, ooh, baby.
Hey, baby. Hey, baby.
Ooh, baby, ooh, baby, ooh, baby, ooh, baby.
Welcome to Rabbit Blue Radio with the Skeleton Crew, exclusively at horrorvid.com.
Hey, welcome to Rabbit and Blue Radio with the Skeleton Crew. This is the 12 days of Friday to the 13th. I'm your host, Alex, joined as always by Michael J. and our special guest host, Dan Chase. All right, now it's time to get deeply into Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. This movie starts off with Jason being completely dead. All right? You know what's weird about that, too, when I say completely dead? In Part 4, isn't it so strange that they put Jason in that ice box and you could see, like, you could see him breathing?
I forgot to mention, do you remember at the end of that movie, too? When he gets stabbed, you know, the knife goes through his eyes, like...
Oh, you with the sound effect. You know what I love about the blood? It sounds like the blood's pouring into, like, a sink of water.
Yeah, I know, right?
They always use that sound effect to, like, show blood coming out of skin, but it doesn't sound like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here was my point when I was talking about how he was breathing and they put him in the icebox in the beginning of Part 4. And the only reason I'm talking about Part 4 right now is because the dead factor. Now, I remember one of my biggest questions was, like, would he be put in there if he was alive? Wouldn't the doctors do more to see if the guy was dead, except for the fact that he's not moving? Like, don't they check his pulse or heartbeat or if he's breathing? Nothing. They just said, okay, he has an axe in his head. He's probably dead. Let's just put him.
No, but they did. I thought they checked it in the barn.
Paramedics can't tell the difference between a dead person and a live one?
They're stupid paramedics, obviously.
Well, okay, anyway. All right, now we come to Part 5.
Yes.
To me, this movie is the most filthy, trashy movie of any Friday the 13th, right?
Oh, absolutely. Well, when they have the psychopath guy there with the axe just, chopping up the poor little fat kid. I mean, when you go to places like that, there's really no coming back.
Yeah, he buried it right into his back. I love that.
Yeah, that's a great sound effect too. Where he's like, "Wow!"